You're all set.
Okay. Chris, if you want to do your introductions.
Yes, sir. Okay. So good evening, everyone. We're meeting here tonight under extraordinary circumstances. Due to state and local emergency orders requiring social distancing, we amended the Rochester Preservation Board bylaws to allow us to conduct this hearing as authorized by the governor's and mayor's emergency orders, and to waive other requirements in order to proceed with this online hearing. These waivers permit us to hold this hearing by teleconference with no in-person attendance, allow applicant presentations by teleconference, and require all public comments, both in favor of and opposed to the application, to be submitted in writing, by email, or by hard copy document mailed to the zoning office or deposited in a secure Dropbox located in the link entrance of City Hall. All written public comments were all required to be submitted by 5 p.m. yesterday. Although this hearing's been altered for some of our normal procedures, many things remain the same. All the normal notifications for this hearing, including mailed notice, publication, and the posting of notice, were followed. All the normal timeframes for applicant presentations and comments in favor of and opposed to the application remain the same. And most importantly, this board will hear, review, and make decisions about all the applications with the same diligence and using the same standards as required by the zoning code. Before we begin, bear with me a second. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that when a case is called, the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to present. The applications are posted on the city website and available for the public to review. All applicants were advised to ensure that their applications were complete and included all information that they intend to present at this hearing tonight. As the application is presented, staff will, as reasonably possible, show the pages of the application the applicant is addressing. Following our normal procedure, the board members may ask the applicant questions. If during the hearing, the board determines that substantial new evidence has been submitted by the applicant during the presentation or is given in response to questions by the board, the case will be adjourned to the next announced hearing date to allow the public to review that new evidence and to submit additional comments. After the applicant's presentation is completed, staff will read into the record any comments received after the comment deadline that are not already posted on the city website. After all the comments have been read, the applicant will have 5 minutes to offer any testimony and rebuttal. The board will commence deliberations and voting after the public hearing of each agenda item, with the exception of any applications that are being adjourned. Please also note that if your case is approved today or this evening, a written decision will be mailed to you within 15 business days. The decision will inform you of the next steps to complete the approval process. Before we open the first case, please note that we're all volunteers. I'd like each of the board members to confirm their presence for purposes of establishing a quorum for this hearing and to introduce themselves and mention their area of expertise. We'll start with Deborah Beardsley, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Beardsley. I am a professor in the School of Design at RIT, teaching master's and undergrad level courses, and I am a city resident.
Thank you, Deborah. Isaac Brocker.
Hi, I'm Isaac Brocker. I'm an architect here in Rochester, and I am also a resident of the city.
Thank you, Isaac. Kajana Crawford.
Hello, I am a professor of sociology, anthropology at Rochester Institute of Technology, and I am also a resident of the city of Rochester.
Thank you, Kajana. Gerald Gam.
Good evening. My name is Gerald Kem. I'm a professor of political science and of history at the University of Rochester and a resident of the East Avenue Preservation District.
Thank you, Gerald. David Matthews.
Good evening. My name is David Matthews. I'm an architect here in the city, and I live in the Highland Park neighborhood.
And Kirsten Solberg.
Good evening. My name is Kirsten, and I am an architect, and I reside in the Browncroft neighborhood.
Great. Well, thank you. Staff.
I am Chris Snyder. I am the staff to the Rochester Preservation Board and work in the zoning office at City Hall.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tom Worth. I'm with the City Law Department and advising the board on legal matters tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Chris, did you want to introduce the first item on our agenda?
Yes.
Chris Snyder.
This is the public testimony for 1273 Park Avenue. It is a return case for a certificate of appropriateness that was held from the September 9th, 2020 hearing. Case A014-20-21. The applicant is Brian Vogel, and he is the property owner. And the purpose is to construct a 20-foot by 24-foot accessory shed greenhouse structure in the rear yard of this single-family dwelling.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And all board members did visit the site. And Mr. Vogel, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for being with us. I just have to swear you in. Do you, Brian Vogel, solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. And we're ready for your presentation.
Sure. So I think this should be pretty simple and straightforward. So at the last meeting, we did I guess, what's the official term for it, Christopher? How is it? It was approved with contingencies, and one of the contingencies was that the window treatments be changed. And one of the comments that Karsten made about kind of having materials that are kind of faux historic looking is not really appropriate on a structure. And since this is a greenhouse, I decided to go with a more modern material that had already been approved on the structure, which is the polycarbonate panel. So on the west facing side, the windows had been removed and just replaced with polycarbonate, the same polycarbonate material that had already been approved on the south, the upper south, sorry, the upper west portion of the structure.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Brian, can everyone see my screen? I just want to make sure it's sharing properly. You can see the staff report. Okay, thank you. Continue, Brian. Sorry for interrupting.
And so if there's a picture there, that might be helpful to pull up. And then on the south facing side of the structure, I went with fiberglass windows, which were recommended by Rochester Colonial. So they quoted me out these Marvin windows, which are basically, made to order. And so those specs are included there. I did also research some different options, but the problem with the different options that I was evaluating is that they don't make windows for greenhouses, and they're all going to be wood, basically untreated wood on the inside, which I'm just not prepared for that, all the headache that's would bring down the line. So the fiberglass windows in the rear and the polycarbonate paneling on the west side was kind of my my workaround compromise of the original design. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Brian, first of all, I just want to thank you very much for this great presentation and working so closely with us. We really appreciate your help.
Chris, Tom Worth from the Law Department. I'm sorry to interrupt. I missed something at the beginning of the hearing that I should clarify for the record, and that is 4 members of the board tonight did not attend the previous hearing on this matter in September, and I want to check with them and have them certify on the record whether or not they reviewed the recording from last September's meeting and the written record from that meeting. And so I'll ask each member of the 4 members who missed last meeting in order whether they can certify that they reviewed the the recording in the record. Kajana Crawford,
Yes,
you did,
I reviewed the document and also viewed the video.
thank you. Isaac Brocker,
Yes, I reviewed the packet, watched the video, and actually visited the site as well.
thank you. David Matthews,
Yes, I reviewed the packet and the video.
all right, thank you. And Deborah Beardsley,
Yes, I have reviewed the packet and the video.
all right. Thank you all very much, and sorry to interrupt, Chris.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for catching that. So we'll do a round robin for questions, and we'll start with Deborah Beardsley. Do you have any questions for the applicant, Deborah?
The only question I have at this moment is just wondering about the suggestion that came up at the last meeting for, I think it was stated in the last meeting, 6/1 windows. I looked back in the materials and it looks like 8/1. I think I saw 8/1. But
There's several different treatments of windows on my existing structure, including 1/1. And because this is kind of like an outbuilding, I figured since we aren't going to have the panel design, the light design on the one side, it just makes it looks better to me to have it without the panels. And it also matches the house, so I think it works.
Great, Brian, thanks. I was just wanting to hear your rationale. Thank you.
Deborah, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
No
Isaac Brocker, any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, just one. Is the polygon panels that are proposed, are those, I'm assuming it's going to be clear polygon? It looks like the rendering is showing blue, and I know it's also manufactured in blue, so I just wanted to confirm.
Yes, it's the clear material. Everything is going to be clear. It's just, like you pointed out, just rendered in blue.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you, Isaac. I would be next. I have no questions. Kajina, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kajina. Gerald Gam?
Brian, first of all, I was really impressed by the revised proposal. We had asked a number of questions about the windows at the last meeting, and I think that you were very responsive to the concerns we raised by pointing out the different dimensions and composition of windows on the house, and that's why you're going with 1/1, and also going with the fiberglass windows, which I think are going to be vastly superior to the original proposal of vinyl. And so someone is reading my mind, because my only question tonight is about page 8, which is now the page we're all looking at. And Brian, my question has nothing to do with the structure, and this may not even be a change from the first meeting. My question is about the pathway, and I just found it odd that there's a pathway that doesn't lead to the obvious door, which is on the right, or to the center of that double door. So can you maybe say something about where that pathway is intended to lead to, and whether or not visually it might be better to lead somewhere else? I'm
happy to I'm happy to move the pathway. It may not even be something that exists right away, but I just positioned it in the center of the concrete bib because I'll probably be using each of the doors equally. And actually, if I do store the motorcycles in that the right hand portion, it might be widened a little bit to connect up to the bib. I'm not sure exactly, but I guess that's the elevation diagram showing the top down view kind of shows the overall placement, but certainly the last few feet of that could be adjusted, and I have no strong feelings about where that would connect up.
Yeah, so Brian, I really appreciated your proposal, how thorough it was, how carefully you explained everything. So my thought is to consider doing what you're describing. If the pathway is going to lead to the double doors eventually when it's laid out, to have it widen as it approaches the doors, so it visually is connecting to the width of the doors.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Great.
All right. David Matthews, any questions for Mr. Vogel?
Brian, just a question on the trim at the polycarbonate. I think, Chris, if you go to page 13. So yeah, just what is the vertical trim matching trim on the rest of the outbuilding? Is it part of the polycarbonate manufacturer trim kit, or is that?
Yes, it's the mounting. What do they call it? Mega lock connector. I think it's documented somewhere in my proposal. But that, yeah, there's no call out there, so I apologize. But it's the Polygal Mega Lock.
Okay. Yeah. Would that just be painted to match the other trim on the outbuilding?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. That's my only question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. Kirsten, any questions for Brian Vogel?
Hi, Brian. I think maybe you indirectly answered my question, but I just keep wondering, that we're basing exceptions for this building, like the window construction, based on the function of the building, which is a greenhouse. And I keep thinking, why isn't the south side the polycarbonate side that's facing the highway? But you're mentioning motorcycles, so I'm thinking, well, maybe half of this is storage, and that's why the polycarb is where it is.
Correct.
I guess that's the question.
Correct.
Okay.
And also, it's just nice to have windows that open. I certainly could, have the south side be completely polycarbonate, but 2 windows is good. That's plenty for this greenhouse. To be able to open up the windows and let pollinators in. That's really the main reason for it. And then, as you pointed out, the side that's the southeast side is going to be like the workshop / storage area. So it's really just kind of a small, a small greenhouse on a small shed, basically.
Okay.
And it's a function of the space that I have in the yard available, and what I want to be able to do with the space. It's a small city yard, so if I could build a big greenhouse and a big garage, I would probably do that, but I don't have the space available. So it's just, the whole thing's just trying to find the best points of all the different things that I want to do, and keep the charm of the neighborhood intact and all that.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just thinking in a perfect world, I'd have the polycarb, which is our non-traditional material, facing the highway and on the south side of your greenhouse, because that would functionally be where you wanted it. But just understood. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Well, if the board members have no further questions, staff wanted to read public testimony statement, if any.
There was no new public testimony for this case for the November hearing.
Great. Thank you, Chris. All right. So I guess we'll do a round robin for comments. We'll deliberate. And let's start with Kirsten. We'll start.
I think I feel okay with this. I still would love to see the 6/1, but if it's on the south, not facing anybody, I would let it pass for the homeowner's discretion.
Okay. Dave Matthews, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's honest to what it is. And certainly looking at the previous application versus this one, I actually think it reads a little bit better as far as the whole gable end being polycarbonate. So I don't really have any problems with it. And I guess if those windows were facing kind of the house and the yard, I'd look at those closer, but they're just facing 490. So I don't really have a problem with a 1/1. So I'd support it.
Okay, great. Gerald, what are your thoughts?
So I have no issue at all with the windows. There are 1/1 windows on the rear of the house. This is going to be on the rear of the greenhouse, so I think that's fine. I think overall this is a wonderful project. It is very much in keeping with the home, in keeping with the neighborhood. It's constructed, as we said at the last meeting, out of the same materials with the siding. And as Dave points out, it's an honest treatment. It will read very clearly as a greenhouse and as a shed, which is an appropriate use in this district. And I think the choice of new windows and the use of polycarbonate is completely appropriate.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kajana?
I think it's a great proposal. I think it was well thought out. I like when people take just and give just as much attention to a shed or a detached garage as they do their main residence. So I'm really, my hats off to him, applauding. Great job.
Great. Thank you. I'm next. I like this application very much. I think it's very cool. I also think it fits within the Preservation Board guidelines. So I'm in full support of it the way it is, and I greatly appreciate Brian working with us on this, as I said earlier. Isaac?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all the comments that everyone's made. I think the west elevation is much more cohesive now that it's all the polycarbonate material. I think that the previous rendition seemed like it was kind of disjointed with the historic windows and then the wedge of polycarbonate at the top. And I do agree. I think Kirsten may have mentioned this. I would prefer the 6/1 windows on the back, but it is the back side of the shed, so I would be fine with it.
All right, great. Thank you, Isaac. And Deborah Beardsley, what are your thoughts?
I think this is an excellent proposal. It's really carefully thought out and appropriate for the district. The more I've been thinking about the 1/1 windows, the more comfortable I feel. They reflect the openness on the side with the polycarbonate windows. I think it's really a great proposal, and I appreciate the care. I have one quick question, which is if Brian does modify the path, the width and or position of the pathway leading to the structure, does he need to come back to the board for that? Maybe I'm asking Chris Snyder or Tom.
Chris Snyder, yeah.
No,
No, okay.
no, it's a minor enough detail that it's not prejudicing the public's right to review and comment on this.
Okay, great. Just wanted to be sure everyone was clear, including Brian, so thank you.
I would just say if you're going to include it in the deliberations, just be very clear of the width so that we have something very clearly written into the record. Like the size,
some flexibility.
opening.
So Chris, you're saying in making the motion to put in something about the pathway?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
If you're going to be saying that, yep.
Okay, well, Gerald, would you like to make a motion?
I would be delighted to make a motion. So I will make a motion regarding case number 1, file number A-014-20-21 at 1273 Park Avenue, to construct an accessory shed / greenhouse structure in the rear yard of the single family dwelling. That the application be approved as written with a single modification, that modification being that the homeowner will direct the pathway toward one of the 2 doors and has the right, if he wishes, to make the width of the pathway match the width of the door.
I second.
As to make the, I'm sorry, Deborah, to make the width of the pathway as it approaches the door match the width of that door.
Second.
Gerald Gamm has made the motion. Deborah Beardsley has seconded. I will go down the list and call the vote. Deborah Beardsley, yay or nay for this motion?
Yay.
Deborah Beardsley votes yay. Isaac Brocker, yay or nay for this motion?
Yay.
Isaac Brocker votes yay. I'd be next, Christopher Coretta. I vote yay for this motion. Kajana Crawford,
Yay.
Kajana Crawford votes yay for this motion. Gerald Gam.
Yay.
Gerald Gam votes yay for this motion. David Matthews.
Yay.
David Matthews is a yay for this motion. And Kirsten Solberg.
Yay.
Kirsten Solberg is also a yay. That's unanimous. Great. Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate your work.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the help that you've all given me.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Chris
So-
Snyder. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. So the next case, 324 Culver Road, case A021-20-21. This case is to legalize the installation of a 10-foot by 16-foot accessory shed structure at the rear and side yard of the single-family dwelling. This case is being adjourned tonight. And the reason for it to be adjourned is that there is an outstanding violation on the property that has not been abated prior to this hearing. The City of Rochester zoning code, section 120-188B, requires that if there is an existing violation on a property or premises thereof, a combination of properties, then a application cannot be heard at a hearing or taken in for review unless that application is to cure that violation. So the violation in question is the wire fence on the property that was not approved by the Rochester Preservation Board or permitted by the Buildings and Zoning Office at the City of Rochester. And the applicant will need to cure that prior to hearing this application. And that will need to be done at a future hearing. Since that is the last case, and that is adjourned and held to a future hearing, that concludes our public hearing. So let me just read the closing statement. This concludes the Rochester Preservation Board public hearing. We thank all applicants and citizens for their participation. The next scheduled hearing will be on December 2nd, 2020, and it is scheduled to be a virtual hearing to be streamed live on the Mayor's Office's YouTube page. Any change of this process will be posted to the City of Rochester website. If you have any comments or questions related to the Rochester Preservation Board or this hearing, please email staff at preservationboard@cityofrochester.com.